CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, Vancouver Island. 6 a.m. Thursday, July the 23rd. Steve in for Ryan for 2 more days. Almost there. I can feel it.
See the barn?
Yes.
I see the barn.
I can see the barn. It's over the mountain, though.
You still got the saddle on, though.
Chance of a thunderstorm this afternoon. Time for CFAX 1070 News. Here's Lisa Best.
Good morning and thank you. An update from the BC Wildfire Service this morning. 86 active wildfires, 15 new starts in the last 24 hours, 35 fires considered out of control. And that includes that blaze southwest of Wausau here on Vancouver Island near Calpit Lake. It's still listed at about 5 hectares in size. No update since yesterday from the crews. On the mainland, some 700 residents in the village of Clinton are under evacuation alert due to the 59 Creek wildfire. The Thompson-Nicola Regional District also expanding an evacuation order and evacuation alert for the Bonaparte Plateau area and due to the same fire that's burning. We had heat for the past couple of days. Things starting to cool today. It looks like the high for Nanaimo, Duncan, the Victoria area, all around or below 30 today, not 36, 34 as it was in the past couple of days. But during that time, we were really sucking the juice as we continued to run the fans, heat pumps, and air conditioner on high all this week. BC Hydro says we set an all-time summer peak electricity demand record between 5 and 6 Tuesday afternoon. Preliminary data shows that peak hourly rate reached over 8,700 megawatts, surpassing the previous summer record of over 8,600 megawatts that was set last August. Hacks to beat the heat, of course, running a fan 9 hours a day costs you about $7 only over the course of the summer. Block out the heat, close the blinds, and keep the cool air inside. BC Hydro says nearly 70% of households in the province now have some form of air conditioning. When you get up this morning in Greater Victoria, anyway, you'll notice there's a breeze and it's decidedly cooler out, breaking the heat. We're hearing more about behind what Donald Trump's latest threats of 50% tariffs on a wide range of Canadian products starting August 19th. As the government's top trade official spilling on that, Jameson Greer was grilled before a group of U.S. senators yesterday about the move. Like the second-day meetings for Canada's premiers in Charlottetown yesterday. Some of the comments we heard were from David Eby, Doug Ford, and Danielle Smith.
I'll just speak for Ontario. Everything's on the table. We can't keep rolling over for Donald Trump.
Tariffs hurt Canadian consumers. They hurt American consumers, whether we apply them or they apply them. I think this is a window, this month that we have, or 28 days.
We can't have a country on one hand attacking one group of families and workers while hoping to have access to the resources in Canada that the rest of the world wants. The United States needs to make up its mind.
We're going to hear from Ward Stammer. He's a BC Conservative forestry critic, live at 7:50 about the increased pressure on securing a Canada-U.S. trade deal amid the escalation in tariffs. And BC Conservatives now arguing about keeping American liquor off the stores could invite retaliation from the U.S. The U.S. military keeping up attacks on Iranian targets. Here's the latest from Washington there.
Overnight, American firepower hit Iran for a 12th straight night. In Iran, striking back at U.S. military targets in Kuwait. The U.S. Central Command said the strikes are meant to stop Tehran from threatening commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's Revolutionary Guard claimed a tanker that tried to slip through caught fire on a mined route and warned any ship that defies Tehran will, quote, meet the same fate.
And in entertainment news, we've lost a great here in Canada. Montreal jazz pianist Oliver Jones has died. He was 91.
Oliver Jones's family and record label Just in Time Records announced his death last evening in Montreal without specifying the cause. During a career packed with Canadian and international acclaim, Jones shared the stage with jazz greats Sarah Vaughan, Buddy Rich, and Tony Bennett. Since the mid-'80s, Jones racked up a slew of jazz awards and honorary doctorates, netting the Order of Canada, a SOCAN Lifetime Award, and induction into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame.
And that is your news to 6:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question: do you agree with the deal to allow brewers and distillers to sell alcohol directly to consumers in other provinces and territories? 95% say yes, good idea. You can vote now at CFAX1070.com. Also on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best. Your news time is 6:06.
Thank you, Lisa. Weather forecast for Greater Victoria. Mix of sun and cloud today. There's a 30% chance of showers early this morning with the risk of a thunderstorm. Hazy with a high near 30, the humidex 31, the UV index at 8 or very high. Partly cloudy tonight, low down to 16. Mix of sun and cloud tomorrow. 30% chance of showers in the afternoon once again with a high near 29. Periods of rain on Saturday with a high near 21. Right now in downtown Victoria, it's 18 degrees. And checking sports, the Victoria Shamrocks have now won 6 in a row. They edged Nanaimo 9-8 last night. They host Burnaby in their final regular season home game on Sunday. The Harbour Cats have been booming with the bats lately. They trounced Nanaimo 16-6 last night. The two teams meet again in Nanaimo tonight. Blue Jays hopes to salvage one game from a 4-game set when they host the Rays again today. Tampa Bay dumped Toronto 4-2 last night. Cincinnati topped the Mariners 5-3 in Seattle. Vancouver Canucks will hold their training camp in Penticton for the third straight year. They did have camp here in Victoria for a season prior to that. Whitecaps dropped a 4-3 decision in Cincinnati. The CFL Thursday Nighter has Edmonton visiting Saskatchewan, and Team Canada knocked off defending NCAA champions UCLA 69-55 at the Save-On Foods Memorial Centre last night. Kayla Alexander had 11 for Canada. Checking the traffic situation, the 6 o'clock ferry departed right on time. The next available sailing on Swartz Bay for the mainland is at 7 o'clock. It has 30% available deck space. There is going to be less room available if you don't have a reservation today. The 11 o'clock, for example, has 10. The noon sailing has just 4% available, and the 4 o'clock sailing just has 3. So those are the ones that are the most booked up so far. Just something to keep an eye on. I don't see any issues on the highways around Greater Victoria at this hour. Meanwhile, at the airport, everything is on time this morning. Here's your consumer and business news.
The Trump administration is freezing more than $1 billion in Medicaid payments to California and Minnesota over questionable claims. Federal officials announced the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services is deferring about $867.5 million to California and $199 million to Minnesota, pending additional documentation. The Department of Health and Human Services also plans to expand its authority to remove fraudulent providers from federal health programs. Officials say the actions are part of a broader effort to prevent Medicaid fraud and protect taxpayer dollars. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's voting to end a rule that dates back to the 1960s.
The EEOC is on track to end the rule that requires companies with more than 100 employees to report workplace demographics, including sex, race, and ethnicity. The rule was established by the Civil Rights Act to combat workplace discrimination. The EEOC claims the rule runs against a recent Supreme Court ruling that made it easier for workers from majority groups to sue for discrimination. The EEOC will hold a public hearing on the proposal next month. I'm Rory O'Neill.
And Disney has now cut hundreds of jobs in its latest round of layoffs. Mark Mayfield reports.
Pixar was reportedly the hardest hit among the Disney film studios. The layoffs also impacted some personalities at ESPN and the NFL Network. Those two networks are beginning to integrate. The cuts included longtime Baseball Tonight host Carl Ravitch, NFL analyst Ryan Clark, and NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero. This is the third round of layoffs at Disney this year.
And many U.S. residents have lost SNAP food benefits recently because they didn't meet the new work requirement. Officials say you can also use volunteer hours along with work hours to reach the 20 hours a week requirement. Almost any volunteer activity meets the requirement. The work requirement does apply to people between 18 and 64 years of age who aren't caring for a child younger than 14. And you can always check the federal SNAP website for more information. I'm Monica Nelson with your Consumer and Business News.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Oversleepers, catch all the highlights on the latest audio podcast at CFAX1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Steve.
How are you today?
I'm better, actually.
Good.
The smoke has cleared a little bit for the moment, even though we still have the skies and we still have the beige skies. It was very strange yesterday afternoon.
It feels hot. The minute you feel it, the minute you walk out the door.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've got a breeze right now, so it's actually feeling pretty good by the ocean. But as soon as you move inland, but we don't have the heat, not expecting the heat that we had yesterday. The mid 30s kind of thing. So
I'm very pleased.
Yes.
Because we checked all the forecasts around.
Yes.
We checked Port Alberni.
Mm-hmm.
We checked Campbell River. We checked Nanaimo. We checked
Correct.
Victoria. And I see no heat warnings.
That's right. It's over for now. They're actually getting possibly some thunderstorm activity up island, which we don't need because of the possibility of lightning strikes. And the wildfire smoke will be a bit noticeable, starting sort of into the 9 o'clock hour. Later this afternoon, you may notice it picking up a little bit more from the mainland and from fires across the border. It was weird yesterday because at 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, where it should be bustling on my street, there was nothing. It was quiet. It was overcast. It was smoky because you could see it. And there was no one walking their dog at that point. There was no one driving. It was quite eerie because everyone just seemed to settle down and hunker down a little bit.
So true.
Yeah. It's a weird feeling. It builds your anxiety just a little bit on the surface, and you don't know what that feeling is.
For me, I'm not sure if it's the weather or the change in my schedule that's affected, but I was in bed at 8:04 last night.
Yeah?
Even though I had tickets to the basketball game, it was like my body said, no, just no.
Was it quieter in Langford? That's a big ask, I know.
There's two new phenomenons out there that I noticed driving home yesterday, and the other one is I've noticed over an extended period of time.
Okay.
People revving the engines of their cars seems to be a big thing in Langford. It's like, oh, I've got this really cool car.
Yes.
Or a motorcycle or some kind of motorized vehicle.
Or a truck.
And they rev the engine.
I don't know if that's exclusive to Langford.
Okay.
But you would notice because if it's directly around you, it's big noise.
The other thing I noticed,
yes,
and I think we should get into this after the break.
Okay.
We joked a little bit about traffic cones in Victoria last week.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, I had to take a different route home because of, they're doing paving work on Island Highway. So I went a different way. I couldn't go more than 2 blocks without a traffic cone or being directed somewhere or being told I couldn't go down that way. Or come on.
Traffic cones are very triggering for us.
It's just like at a certain point, I wish they planned this. That, we're not going to overtake the entire city
at once.
Yeah. Like you go down the Trans-Canada, because that's part of the route I took home yesterday. Mm-hmm. Like the number of those barrels and things is...
Which is not something you want to hit.
It just... overload. That's what it is. It's just construction / signs, because we got all those signs up as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, really? The whole town is under construction right now?
It's not, yeah. Well, I would say Greater Victoria as a whole is kind of under construction. There's a lot going on in the city streets, and we've got more to come. Because Hydro is now putting new bones in the ground, basically. They have to replace some of the cables they put in Greater Victoria and Saanich that they put in like 1976. So they're aging out.
Yeah.
And so that's the next thing to come. And that's going to affect or into urban Wilkinson and that area starting August 4th, so 2 weeks away.
We'll get there. We'll discuss.
We will.
We'll discuss more coming up.
Yeah.
By the way, 19 degrees in Mill Bay right now, according to a listener. Not a heat fan.
No, well, it's especially when it's a cumulative effect. When we've got days of it, you do get tired of it.
You know what Mill Bay's getting this weekend?
What
A
are they
booster juice. I love booster juice.
It's worth the drive, Steve.
Congratulations, Mill Bay. You are now a booster juice franchisee. Here's Lisa with your news headlines.
Fast-moving fire that started in a Duncan carport yesterday. A lot of people posting on social media dramatic photos and videos of the flames consuming the building. It forced 13 residents from their homes yesterday morning. The flames spread to neighboring buildings. Police are taping blocks of the area off as fire investigators looked into what damaged the multiple buildings. 13 people now getting help for temporary accommodations. Luckily, no one was injured, but a number of vehicles were completely destroyed in that dramatic fire. About 30 firefighters rotated through the scene, dealing with the flames, trying to get the fire under control. The BC Securities Commission asking an Alberta man to respond to allegations of raising close to $5 million from investors, then spending the money on personal use. The BCSC says the man living in Comox between 2021 and 24 raised $4.6 million on the promise of investing in cryptocurrency trading bots. The commission alleges instead he spent the funds on travel, jewelry, vehicles, and luxury goods while providing false statements during an investigation under oath. The allegations have not yet been proven. And SpaceX is planning to test a launch of its new massive Starship rocket tonight from the facility at Starbase, Texas. The mission was previously planned for July 16th, but scrapped at the last minute due to an issue with several of the rocket's 33 Raptor engines. If the launch goes as planned, it will be the 13th test flight for Starship. That is your news to 6:19.
621 here at CFAX 1070. Seeing no delays whatsoever on the highways right now. First sailing out of Sports Bay's already left. Second sailing is at 7 o'clock. There's hourly sailings right through until 9 o'clock this evening. The 7 o'clock sailing has 28% available deck space.
Ryan and Lisa are ready when you are.
Good morning.
Day or night, find the highlights under latest audio at CFAX1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
Seems other people are feeling the same way we are about this construction stuff.
Okay.
Regarding construction, I work in a specialist clinic. I've told my patients, due to construction and getting to the appointment, they have to give themselves an extra 45 minutes.
Wow.
And they're still late from the construction. Sign, everywhere a sign.
Well, because you round the corner and it's like, oh, this is new. How long is this going to take?
Exactly.
And it's not that, we respect the crews and we understand, it's going up, but it's when you run into a snag that you weren't expecting that may not even be listed on Google Maps on traffic because it's so new. And I run into that too. It's like, oh, is this just for the day that we're closing this route? Okay. So, yeah, you're constantly, it feels like you're sort of slogging through peanut butter on the roads.
Well, sometimes, and this is what happened to me yesterday going home, is you take one action to avoid a situation.
Yes.
And then you turn and you're into a different situation.
It's just as bad. It's like, I should have stayed where I was.
Then you turn again to get around that situation, and you're again in a third situation.
Yeah.
So
you're making sense. We're all nodding in approval. Unfortunately, we're in the same misery. Yeah.
I wanted to bring some good news and some reality check.
Okay. Balancing things out.
So 2 years ago today, I was actually hosting the morning show with you when the first pictures from Jasper started to emerge of what had happened overnight.
Yes.
And it was very emotional for me. It still is. Because I lived there 6 years.
Correct.
And I love the town. It has a great heart. It's very different than any place I've ever lived in my entire life.
So based on that, if you haven't spent a lot of time in in Jasper, what was it like? Like, what is Jasper like?
Jasper is, because it's right on the BC border with Alberta.
Yeah.
It's the people are kind of a combination of the BC thinking around environment and all that, and the real world thinking of, okay, we got to pay for this, which was interesting. And then you just have the natural beauty of the place. Like, it's just, there are some places in that national park that can't be duplicated and aren't duplicated anywhere else in the world.
Oh, because of the beauty?
The beauty, the rock structure, the little waterfall, like, just...
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very unique. And it's, like, it's hard to explain unless you've seen it. It's just different.
Okay.
But what I was celebrating is my friends are starting to rebuild. And one of them went into their new house yesterday.
Oh, wow. The same spot?
Yep.
Where they lost the old one?
It's a brand new house, though.
Right.
Because most of those houses in Jasper before the fire were around in the bungalow 60s kind of
older
way.
Wood.
This was a really modern looking, snazzy kind of house. So
they changed it. Okay.
Yeah. Because, well, the building standards have changed. All that stuff has changed. But at least I'm seeing progress.
Okay.
And I'm very excited about that. And then I looked at the temperatures for yesterday, and Lytton was the warmest place in Canada again yesterday, over 40 degrees.
They've been that for a couple of days now.
Yeah. And I said to myself, Jasper's very fortunate because Lytton was in the same situation, and I don't see a whole bunch of houses popping up anymore. And this town that was, a functional place on the railway and all those things is not coming back to life. And I'm trying to understand why we can't do for Lytton what we're doing for Jasper.
Yeah, we've had the mayor of Lytton on, of that village, and we've had Jasper on as well, and we feel the frustration on both sides. I do believe, sadly, because Jasper is a tourist destination, they're getting a little bit more love, and of course, the politicians would argue that Lytton is more off the track, and even though it's a picturesque village, it is smaller than Jasper. It is not as well attended for tourism, and possibly because of that, it's just not being rebuilt the same way, because many people in the village of Lytton have said, we don't know if this is actually going to become a ghost town because of what has happened, because they're just not rebuilding at the same speed. And then there's logistics of rebuilding. The money that they've been given, they don't think they're going to be able to pay it back.
One of the differences that I see is that in the case, because it really is a federal town, Jasper, even though it's in Alberta, it's a federal town.
Right.
The government of Canada, Parks Canada, and the municipality got together and put this separate unit together to go into place and help people get around all the permits and work through the permits quickly so that they could rebuild quickly, they could get things moving. We're seeing results. It's already on the ground. That has never happened in the way it should have. And that's what the reports keep on saying out of Lytton. They keep on saying, we can't go through the red tape fast enough to make it worth our while. We're just getting frustrated. The insurance company stuff, all that stuff's coming together. I just wish Lytton had every opportunity the way Jasper has.
Agreed. And we do look at it, and we should look at it as a cautionary tale, thinking that, if you're not a tourist destination, are you going to get the same financial love from the government? Or if they feel that there's just rebuilding is going to be different. Aside from the actuarials, when we talk about the insurance aspect of it, for rebuilding, because you've got to make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed when you come to fire and flood when insurance. But, we've got the leader of the Hawaiian Nation coming up talking about redesignated Banffil Main Road because of the fire situation and wanting to have another exit route and an in route for that community so they don't have any trouble moving forward. And that's been a hard topic of discussion because it sort of moves forward and then it stops again.
Yeah.
But really, we've got Highway 4, and then what? What's our secondary road? Banfield Main Road is pretty much still a logging road, even though there's been upgrades and safety upgrades made on it.
That's exactly what it is. And people still don't recommend it for travel unless it's absolutely necessary.
And a regular vehicle, I wouldn't take it. But if Highway 4 is closed again, as we've seen in previous years, we run into trouble again. So I'm curious to see what he has to say. He's coming up at 6:50.
Thank you for indulging me in conversation. Much appreciated, as always.
We feel for Jasper, and we definitely feel for Lytton.
It was kind of nice to see that house go up.
Yeah.
I might have done one of the little likey things with the heart.
You?
Yes.
Oh, well played. Look at you on social media.
I can Facebook with the best of them. I can tell you that. I'm in the Facebook demographic, ladies and gentlemen.
Well done.
Lisa's coming up bottom of the hour with your news.
This summer, 3 of Vancouver Island's biggest voices are coming together to make a real difference.
Get your tickets now for the Kids Count Mega Summer 50-50.
Brought to you by 107.3 Virgin Radio, CFAX 1070, and CTV.
In support of CFAX Santa's Anonymous all-new Kids Count program, supporting children beyond Christmas.
The Mega Summer 50-50.
Your chance to win big while giving back.
Buy your tickets today at CFAX1070.com.
Gaming event license 174660. CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, 6:32 here at CFAX 1070 and CTV Vancouver Island. Steve in for Ryan. Chance of a thunderstorm this afternoon. Time for CFAX 1070 News. Here's Lisa Best.
We could certainly use the rain, but hold on that lightning. More communities across our province under threat from separate out-of-control wildfires. The Squamish-Lillooet Regional District has issued a new overnight evacuation order for the South Chilcotin Mountain area. The evacuation order was also issued for the vicinity of Texas Creek, south of Lillooet. Earlier yesterday, a controlled burn on the eastern flank of the wildfire threatening the town of Kimberley, population 8,000, was scrapped due to an increase in the region's fire behavior. The BC Wildfire Service says there are currently 86 fires burning across the province, 35 considered out of control. One of those is that blaze up near Calpit Lake, to southwest of Was. That's still at about 5 hectares in size. The potential for new fire starts will likely escalate due to the forecast for more heat and limited precipitation on the way, even though it does look like the Greater Victoria area at least is going to get a smattering of rain on the weekend. A fast-moving fire that gutted a Duncan carport, destroying 4 vehicles early Wednesday, also forced 13 people from their homes. Police tape blocking off the area as 30 firefighters fought the blaze. Crews from Duncan were joined by crews from the North Couch and South End Fire Department, and a Couch and Bay Volunteer Fire Service also lent a hand. No one was injured, but very dramatic footage and photos coming out from social media about the flames rolling over the building. Emergency support services assistants are now assisting the 13 people who were out of home. The cause of that fire remains under investigation. The Canadian Blood Services says it's facing a shortage as blood donations have plummeted over the last several weeks. The agency says the blood supply has decreased by nearly 20% since June 1st. It notes the shortfall is beyond the usual drop in donations during the summer months. All types of blood are needed. Staff say they're adding more opportunities for you to donate, including more weekend appointments at all of their centres. Tariffs remain the main focus at the meeting for Canada's premiers continuing in PEI this week as leaders debate how the country should respond to Donald Trump's latest tariff threats, which could take effect on August 19th. So far, the premiers appear united together behind Mark Carney's approach to put the focus on continued trade negotiations. CTV's Maria Sauer has the latest.
And there's no more popular opponent in Canada right now than Donald Trump.
And it seems for now, old domestic divisions were set aside, with premiers from Alberta and Quebec saying separatist sentiment wasn't an issue.
No, I didn't hear any comments on that topic.
Premier Smith?
Yeah, no, it didn't come up.
Tariffs will likely be back at the top of the agenda when Prime Minister Mark Carney meets with premiers, and divisions around how to retaliate could make for tense talks.
Another side of the evolving tariff story is how Canada-U.S. relations of late are impacting the planned opening of that Gordie Howe Bridge between Windsor and Detroit tomorrow. CTV's Mike Lecouture says what we know now, the deal for the bridge, will see revenue shared between both countries over the first 15 years, despite our country fronting the cost to build the span.
But that contradicts what Prime Minister Mark Carney told CTV Calgary 10 days ago.
We are sharing after Canada is paid back.
Carney attempted to clarify things a few days later.
Any sharing of the toll revenue won't happen until all of the debt is repaid.
Carney's shifting message drew criticism from the Conservatives.
It's hard for me to believe that him and his finance minister did not know what they were saying at the time.
Friday's bridge opening event was supposed to include U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and Ambassador Pete Hoekstra.
That's not happening anymore. Tomorrow's event will feature only Canadian officials, calling the larger plan inappropriate in light of the recent U.S. trade action. That's your news to 6:36. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. We're asking you if you agree with the deal to allow brewers and distillers to sell alcohol directly to consumers in other provinces and territories. 95% say yes. You can vote at CFAX1070.com, also on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best, your news time, 6:37.
Thank you, Lisa. Weather forecast for Greater Victoria. Cloudy with a 30% chance of showers early this morning. Then a mix of sun and cloud. There's the risk of a thunderstorm early this morning. Hazy. Winds will be light, except west 60 near the Juan de Fuca Strait this morning. A high near 24. 20 where the winds blow on shore. Humidex going to make it feel like 29. Partly cloudy tonight, becoming clear overnight with a low near 14. Mainly sunny tomorrow. Winds light, except 60 near the Juan de Fuca Strait in the afternoon with a high near 23. The outlook for Saturday, cloudy, 40% chance of showers, and a high near 20. Right now in downtown Victoria, it's 19 degrees. Checking your sports on a Thursday morning. Team Canada knocking off the defending NCAA champions, UCLA, in women's basketball at the Save-On Foods Center last night. 69-55 the final. Kayla Alexander had 11 to lead Team Canada. The Blue Jays lost again, 4-2 this time to Tampa Bay. They close out that four-game series later today. Manager John Snyder says his whole lineup needs to find a way out of this slump.
I think it has to be everybody. You know what I mean? It has to be, it doesn't have to be just Vlad or just George or just Farsh or just Arnie or, you know, it has to be everyone, and it has to be a little bit contagious. So I think that's kind of where we're at right now, where everyone wants to be the one to kind of open up the floodgates a little bit, and that makes it even tougher.
Victoria Shamrocks edged Nanaimo 9-8 last night. Harbor Cats won 16-6 in Nanaimo. $6.40 here at CFAX 1070 for a comfortable home no matter what the season, and big savings on your heating bill. Talk to Coastal Heat Pumps, designed for comfort, the South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. Checking out conditions on the Trans-Canada Highway. I don't see any major delays. Slows down a little bit as you go through the View Royal area around Island Highway. The off-ramp and the on-ramp on Veterans Memorial Parkway in the Trans-Canada seems to be a little jammed up. That's usually just a result of the way the stoplights are going, though. Don't see any other major delays out there right now. The next sailing, Swartz Bay to the mainland, 7 o'clock this morning, 32% available deck space. Here's what happened on the markets yesterday.
Bay Street continued its upward trend yesterday, closing up more than 100 points. Toronto's S&P TSX adding 116 points to be exact, closing at 35,485. In New York, the Dow Jones Industrial Average slipped 6 points, and the Nasdaq fell 146 points. The Asian markets were looking mostly positive this morning, with Japan's Nikkei finishing up 307 points. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong closed up as well, adding 318. Prime Minister Mark Carney will be in PEI today, meeting with Canada's premiers under the shadow of the latest tariff threat from the U.S. GE Aerospace and Magellan say they've signed an agreement on maintenance for the engines of Saab's Gripen. The deal, however, hinges on whether Ottawa ultimately decides to buy the European fighter jet. And finally, with a check-in on the loonie, it is trading this morning overseas at 71.04 cents U.S. From the Canadian Press Business Desk, I'm Rob Westgate.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
We certainly have the public support in this quest to deal with the number of construction signs, pylons, etc.
All right.
My peeve is that the signs are there 24/7, regardless of whether the crews are present or not. Welcome to Saanishton. Within a block of my home, in any direction, is major construction of towers, buildings, and major roads torn up for pipes.
Wow. I mean, and that's usually such a quiet community.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we're all in agreement that this is, yes.
We're full up?
I think there's a lot of, we just get tired of certain circumstances.
Of course.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, we're growing. And in order to do that, the construction has to happen. Whether we like it or not, people are moving here. So that's real for what's happening. We had the mayor of Esquimalt on a couple months ago. I think it was at least 6 months ago. And she was saying there's 3,000 apartment and condo units alone going up on Esquimalt Boulevard. And when you drive Esquimalt Boulevard, you know that. You can see by the amount of construction going up. My overall concern in every community always is, can we keep it unique? If we're going to build...
Ooh, look at you.
Oh, 100%. Keep it unique. You know, high rises, step them back from the road so you don't look like you don't feel like you're driving through a tunnel, that lets more light in. You know, that there's some relief to the eye looking at the building versus just putting up whatever. And that's something that city planners always have to keep an eye on, because it's easy to pick the low-hanging fruit. The cheapest and still safest can sometimes always win. But we want to keep this community unique. And part of that, keeping Victoria and Greater Victoria looking unique, is to build with a purpose.
I agree 100%. I think some of the roads that are just two-lane, we should be taking a really close look on whether we can put something there. Because I look at some of the pressure points that I've noticed in the city, and they're two-lane roads that all of a sudden have, you know, multiple apartment or condo developments on them.
Right.
And they're just not built to take it.
And you think of the extra traffic that's coming from that, and then a bike lane's put in.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like you said, they want to put it as close to the edge of the road, which means even if you wanted to expand it to a 4-lane road, you couldn't, because you'd have to knock down buildings.
Yeah, so there's no back set.
No.
Or they're not set back at all. If you've got the building right up to the sidewalk, there's nowhere to go. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of these comments, of course, horses are at the barn, the building's already underway, but we do have to plan to grow, and the infrastructure, for as much as sometimes city planning doesn't want to include vehicles. Personally, I don't think vehicles are going anywhere. I think we do have to share the road more, because I think if any community is going to have the right climate for all forms of transportation, this is the one, especially in Canada. But we still have to accommodate all.
Well said. 6:46 here at CFAX 1070. Lisa's going to bring us up to date with the news headlines.
That big concert planned for the Inner Harbour in early August has hit a bit of a sour note. The David Foster Foundation announcing that the Victoria Symphony Orchestra will not accompany David Foster and friends at the Foundation's free 40th anniversary Victoria Harbour concert. The statement shares that David Foster remains dedicated to bringing a free, world-class show to Victoria to thank the community that has supported the foundation for more than 40 years. Audiences can still look forward to an unforgettable evening featuring more than 10 internationally acclaimed artists at that show. Ottawa is reassuring Canadian businesses that it will be there to help if the new U.S. tariffs come to effect on August 19th. Industry Minister Melanie Joly says she's already begun discussions with business leaders to help understand their needs. Joly says the government will make sure to negotiate a good deal in the best interest of Canadians. The Trump administration does plan to impose 50% new tariffs on a range of Canadian products, everything from wine to hockey sticks to honey to cement, starting in mid-August. And the terrifying new study out of Vermont and Ontario determining that black skin lesions found on catfish in eastern parts of Canada and the U.S. are a transmissible type of skin cancer. University of Vermont scientist Julie Dragon says the cancer spreads from fish to fish like a parasite. The disease is only the fourth form of transmissible cancer ever documented in the wild. The researchers investigating a lake which straddles Quebec and Vermont. Since at least 2012, anglers and biologists have been reporting the increase in brown bullhead catfish with raised black skin patches coming out of the lake. Although researchers expected a virus or pollutant-linked contaminant was the cause, they soon learned that the fish were suffering a form of melanoma, an aggressive form of skin cancer, and this one was transmissible. That's your news to 647.
Conversation begins.
Hey, it's Friday. Welcome to the Graham Richardson Show.
The stories that shaped your week aren't just headlines. They are the moments we live through and the decisions that change what comes next.
Let's take a closer look at that together.
It's national conversations. From major policy shifts to the fun, unexpected trends and friends everyone will be talking about. It is intelligent, unpredictable, and completely Canadian. Stay informed. Stay ahead. The Graham Richardson Show. Friday morning at 9 a.m. right here on CFAX 1070.
.650 here at CFAX 1070, checking the traffic situation, the Trans-Canada. Just a little slow in sections, Victoria bound at this hour. No major delays to speak of. At the ferry terminal, the 7 o'clock sailing has 27% available deck space. Everything still on time at Victoria Airport.
The best way to start an island morning. Ryan and Lisa on CFAX 1070.
CFAX mornings are brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Until August 5th, get 600 plus Scene Plus points when you buy any participating cheeses and meats to build your own summer snacking bundle. I hope I say this right. Huayet First Nation is among the communities calling for the province to redesignate the Banfield Main Road. We're hoping to talk about that as we go through other big items around the area. Certainly the discussion continues about, with the viewers and listeners, about the situation we have. Smart cities, great in theory, but seems lost in this narrative is the slowing of traffic and how it contributes to congestion and also pollution. I think we're all in for public safety, but removing capacity comes with a social and environmental price tag. When I was subbing for Adam the last time, we had a courier owner on, and he has had to adjust the schedules.
Yes.
So that they are not, getting stuck.
Yes.
Because it's better to do it like at 7 o'clock at night. That's why you get late deliveries now.
Agreed.
So we've come to that point.
I agree. And I think that a lot of people are adjusting their schedule. I won't be driving around town around 4 between 4 and 5 if I don't have to be.
Yeah.
I always take a look at the busy times and take a look at the Google traffic maps and then decide.
With all the road construction, my GPS was flashing, you cannot get there from here. That's right on. Someone once told me there are 2 seasons in Canada, winter and construction.
Yeah, that was always our joke in Manitoba because in the prairies, because it's so cold in the winter, you can't really do a lot of construction in the wintertime. So it's only the summer months. So yeah, there's winter and there's construction.
Interesting. Quebec takes a 2-week construction holiday every year.
They're very civilized out there.
I kind of like that just because of the break it gives you.
Yeah.
It's not that it's like, okay, for 2 weeks, first of all, that means the construction workers can have a holiday, which is a really good thing.
Right.
Because they have families and things too. And summertime is peak family time, let's be honest.
Even just 1 week.
Yeah. So they have a couple of weeks off that they, if they're working on the 40 or the TCAT or whatever.
Correct.
It's not happening for 2 weeks.
I'll make that the poll question, see if everybody dives into that.
Okay.
And then we'll bring it to the politicians.
Okay. I like that.
I'm sure everyone will have a chicken because then it's putting the construction back and someone's going to have to pay for that.
Right.
But the idea is there.
I also have a question coming in. So, Captain Steve, what's the story behind today's jersey?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Today.
Here we go.
Today we have the number 11 Ottawa Senators jersey, the number 1 player, Hockey Hall of Fame member, the only one from the Ottawa Senators, the one, the only, Daniel Alfredson, now assistant coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
One of the classiest hockey players you will ever meet.
Thank you for that.
He is.
He is.
Alfredson, he's a good man.
He's a nice dude.
Yep.
And, he is everything that a hockey player should be. The way he got on board for the community in Ottawa, the way he handles himself off the ice.
Sort of like the Sedin brothers here.
Yeah, he's just, yes. That's actually a really good comparison.
Yeah, just class acts.
Yeah. They actually talked to him about coming out here. To be part of
we haven't won him over yet?
Yeah. No, he picked the Leafs because, anyway.
For now.
It hurt. It hurt.
It could change.
It hurt. I understand, Alfie.
You could still see Alfie out here.
Yep. You're right.
If you haven't met him, you'd like him when you meet him.
Yeah, he is just a fun dude. And yes, I continue to be a Sens fan to the point where once a year I make my sojourn to the nearest Western Canadian city and see my Senators in action. Still today, even when it was really bad.
The jersey stands.
So the jersey has stood the test of time. I gave up my Leaf fandom that was instilled into me by my father.
Wow.
And
that dies hard.
No, it really didn't out of a while. You know what did it?
What?
When the Leafs were in town for an Ottawa game, and I was kind of on the fence, going one way or other, because at one point I was a season ticket holder for the Sens, and a Leaf fan was so obnoxious to me that it was like, no, I'm done. I'm done.
One fan, did you?
Yeah, it just rubbed me the wrong way forever. Okay. I was already on the fence.
Oh, okay. You just needed the gentle push.
And the kids were all Ottawa, like Taylor and Courtney, my son and my daughter. Like, they're bugging me. And then, like, the next day, Zdeno Chara's in the Canadian Tire.
Okay.
Like, how cool is that?
Yeah. Well, like just a regular guy.
He's 6'8" guy running through the same Canadian Tire I am. Hey, it's just so normal, right? We have this pedestal we put them on, which is probably we shouldn't do. But
well, there's a lot of that. I mean, Gordie Howe. I had an accidental barbecue with Gordie Howe.
Accidental?
Yes, there was 3 of us there.
Who was the other one?
A former boyfriend.
Ooh.
And brought him home for barbecue.
Hey, come on.
I'm sitting there with Gordie Howe. No clue who the man was.
Oh, no.
Oh, but he was so nice. He was so nice to me. We had a great conversation. I was 20-something at the time. What a gentleman. And we had a barbecue.
Oh, that's nice.
And, yeah, it's my former life. But, because of that, I sort of went down into the rabbit hole and started researching and looking at teams and stuff and learning more about this. When you meet somebody and you get to know about them, then you sometimes gain a real interest in their life. And even if they're famous, whether they're not or not. Tretiak. That time with Tretiak, too.
You had the life.
I know I did. And I have no idea.
Have life envy for you now.
I had no idea at the time. And so I researched these after the fact. Just
You're killing me here.
I fell into it. And but this is sometimes how heroes go. And even with children, you know, they have their hero. They don't know why. Maybe it's because their parents got them into it. But then when someone is really nice to them, you realize that, oh, I want to know more about you because you're just so cool. Or they're just cool in general. And Gordie Howe, he was very cool.
And you know what?
Mr. Hockey.
The whole thing about the bridge is really disappointing me from this point of view. And when you're talking about Gordie Howe.
Yes.
Gordie Howe really did bridge the two countries. We're talking about somebody who was born in Saskatchewan.
Yes.
Came to Detroit, became the toast to Detroit, led his team to Stanley Cups, married a U.S. girl, has boys that played for the U.S. national team. It's kind of the story of if there was ever a sports story that spans borders, that warrants a bridge, it's the Gordie Howe Bridge. And the fact that all this political stuff that's happened in the last 2.5, 3 months has diminished how significant and why that bridge was named after Gordie Howe.
Mm-hmm. Not arguing. I mean, all of it makes sense. It's just unfortunate, the dark cloud that the argument with the U.S. about it has cast over it.
Yeah. So the head of the Ambassador Bridge is more worried about money than anything else. Calls Howard Lutnick, says, I'll give you $1 million. And all of a sudden, Trump's against opening the bridge. Yep. That's what happened. Let's be honest.
It's a new world. Just on the traffic note, Don from Florida has texted in. He said, I knew I was in trouble with Victoria traffic when I started asking tourists for direction. How apropos.
Well played, sir. Well played. 6:59, Lisa's back, top of the hour.
CFAX Victoria,
an iHeartRadio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Coming up to 7:02 here at CFAX 1070, CTV Vancouver Island. Steve in for Ryan. Chance of a thunderstorm today. Time for CFAX 1070 News. Here's Lisa Best.
Thank you, Steve, and good morning. Canadian Blood Services is urging people with all blood types to book an appointment and donate as levels decrease for summer.
Canadian Blood Services says it is facing a shortage, with its blood supply decreasing by nearly 20% since June 1st. The agency manages the blood supply in all provinces except Quebec. It says it needs about 18,000 blood donations a week to keep pace with hospital demand throughout the rest of the country. There's currently been a shortfall of between 1,500 and 2,500 appointments each week. A spokesperson says blood has a shelf life of only 42 days, so today's donation will quickly make its way to a patient. Naira Ahmed, The Canadian Press.
A fast-moving fire that gutted a Duncan carport, destroying 4 vehicles early yesterday, also forced 13 residents from their homes as the flames spread to neighboring buildings. Police taped off the scene, many people posting dramatic footage of the flames roiling out of the building. The building completely gutted. 30 firefighters fighting that blaze. Crews from Duncan joined by North Cowichan, South End Fire Department, and even the Cowichan Bay Volunteer Fire Rescue lending a hand. Luckily, there was no injuries, and emergency support service are now helping the 13 people who are out of home. The cause of that blaze remains under investigation, but very, very dramatic event. Opposition MPs say Prime Minister Mark Carney should have been clear about the start of that from the start about that new bridge deal between Canada and the state of Michigan. The text of the proposed agreement in principle for the Gordie Howe International Bridge linking Windsor, Ontario to Detroit, confirming that Canada will share half of net toll revenues in the U.S. for the first 15 years. Conservative MP Shuvlavlov Manjavar says it's not the kind of deal that was promised.
We've discovered that not only has the Prime Minister caved, Liberals have indeed lied. Tragically, they had said that there was no concessions that Canada should be concerned about. The Prime Minister had made the case that he made a good deal for Canada. He had said that there would be a sharing of revenue after net debt. Instead, we have seen something very different.
Carney left many confused last week when he said our two countries would share net revenues from the bridge, but only after splitting toll revenue and all the debt was repaid. New Democrat MP Heather McPherson says Carney could have prevented the confusion if the government had simply been transparent from the beginning. Canada's premier is wrapping up the talks yesterday in Charlottetown ahead of face-to-face meetings today with Mark Carney. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew says maintaining universal access to a working health care system is crucial in creating a strong and independent country.
As we think about what is happening between our country and the threat of the Trump tariffs, to me, there can be no bigger nation-building project than building up this nation's people. And that has to include healthcare, universal public access to healthcare.
The Premier is also requesting Ottawa renew health care transfers to the province and territories that will start expiring next year and commit to increasing the share of health care funding by 5% a year starting in 2028. And the U.S. launching a 12th day of attacks on Iran, the Iranians not backing down either. Global oil now going back up as maritime traffic is all but stalled again in the Strait of Hormuz and the alternate route, which is the Red Sea. The Iranian-backed Houthis say they've also struck 2 Saudi Arabian ships in the Red Sea.
Overnight here in Jordan, 6 Iranian missiles and 4 drones were intercepted, and the Kuwaiti army says drones were intercepted there as well. But this morning, a new front in this conflict with potential global consequences.
And we'll keep you apprised of any major changes at the gas pumps locally. That's your news to 7:06. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning: do you agree with the deal to allow brewers and distillers to sell alcohol directly to consumers in other provinces and territories? 95% say yes, good idea. You can vote now at CFAX1070.com, also the iHeartRadio app. And Lisa, best your news time is 7:07.
Thank you, Lisa. Weather forecast for Greater Victoria. Cloudy with a 30% chance of showers early this morning, then a mix of sun and cloud. Risk of a thunderstorm early this morning. Hazy. It'll be a little windy near the Juan de Fuca Strait. High near 24. 20 where the winds blow on shore. Humidex's going to feel like 29. Partly cloudy tonight, becoming clear overnight with a low near 14. Mainly sunny tomorrow. Winds light except 60 kilometer gusts near the Juan de Fuca Strait in the afternoon. A high near 23. The outlook for Saturday, cloudy, 40% chance of showers and a high near 20. Right now in downtown Victoria, it's 17 degrees. In sports today, the Shamrocks 6 in a row as they head into the final 2 games of the season. They edged Nanaimo 9-8 last night in Colwood. They host Burnaby in their final regular season home game on Sunday, then close it out on the road. The Harbour Cats continue to get the bats booming again. They trounced Nanaimo 16-6 last night. 2 teams meet again tonight in Nanaimo. Blue Jays trying to salvage 1 game from this 4-game disaster against the Rays this afternoon. Tampa Bay dumped Toronto 4-2 last night. Cincinnati topped the Mariners 5-3 in Seattle. Canucks will hold their training camp in Penticton for the 3rd straight season. They did have camp here in Victoria for 1 season prior to that. Whitecaps dropping a 4-3 decision in Cincinnati last night. The CFL Thursday Nighter has Edmonton visiting Saskatchewan, and Team Canada knocked off the defending NCAA champions UCLA 69-55 at the Save-On Foods Memorial Centre last night. Kayla Alexander had 11 for Team Canada. CFAX traffic, Trans-Canada, Victoria bound, really good shape at this hour. It's actually way slower on Island Highway, basically through View Royal. It's a little congestion, especially before you get to Helmken. Then it picks up again as you head towards Craigflower. Everything else is in good shape at this hour. On the markets, the TSX is down 289 points at 35,196. The Dow Jones down 511 at 51,707. And the NASDAQ down 410 points at 25,260. The Canadian dollar's up 2 basis points at 71 cents U.S.
Let's get started.
Start your day informed and entertained. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
7-Eleven here at CFAX 1070. We went on a venture on ice cream.
Last week
because it was National Ice Cream Day
on Sunday. Yep.
Apparently, there are 42 national days that celebrate ice cream every year.
And why not, really?
Today is another one of them.
No.
Yes, it is. Here's Bree Tatis
Today celebrates the king of ice cream flavors, vanilla. It accounts for about 33% of all ice cream orders. Americans eat about 6 pounds of it every year. That's each. The International Dairy Foods Association says vanilla is the #1 choice. So today, eat it plain, cover it in sprinkles, make a root beer float, even a la mode some pie. But whatever you do, if given the choice of chocolate fudge sauce, choose yes. I'm Bree Tennis.
Choose yes. Sometimes Americans do get it right. I'm with them on this one. This can be vanilla ice cream day.
Okay.
Soft serve, hard. The good vanilla ice cream. What do you put on top of it?
I, for a long time, went with that Smucker's stuff that you could squirt on the top and it hardened over it.
It's the little things in life, eh? How about maple syrup?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
What else have I put on?
As we muse. Don't mind us.
The peanut butter parfait kind of is the best use of vanilla ice cream I've come to know.
Okay.
Because then you got your peanuts, you got your chocolate, and you got your vanilla ice cream. That is a solid.
Solid. It's a solid.
It's solid. There's no downside to peanut butter parfait. Just isn't.
Someone's asking about the breathing issues. Something completely different from ice cream, because ice cream won't help us. If you deal with asthma like I do, not going to make a difference. I noticed it a lot yesterday. I was feeling off, especially yesterday afternoon. So someone has asked about the state of the smoke situation. I know, left field. So I just wanted to bring your attention to firesmoke.ca. It's a great website. Download the app if you can. We'll also keep you abreast of any changes. But it looks like late afternoon into early evening is when it's going to thicken a little bit. We do have smoke permeating our area pretty much throughout the day, off and on. It tapered off overnight. It may taper off overnight again tonight. But similar kind of situation where, we're looking across the strait and it's pretty hazy. So if it's affecting you, how it affects you, breathing. I definitely notice with my breathing. It also makes you sometimes, it can create a sense of anxiety. It's our fight or flight that comes into effect. And because we're not getting away from it, it's our lizard brain. As an animal, you would get away from that kind of thing. You would move to another area where the air was cleaner and you wouldn't have to breathe that. We can't do that, obviously, and we understand why. But it doesn't stop your brain from thinking there's something wrong. And we've also determined that fine particulate matter in smoke of any sort is very dangerous to our bodies. So keep a watch on the extent of the smoke that we have. That could change depending on the winds coming in and the way the winds blow, if it's going to bring it into our region. If it's going to get darker and it's going to get thicker, you might want to change your outdoor plans. This is a situation that's in flux. So got to keep a watch on it. And it's not just looking outside to determine. You got to pay attention to what the forecasters, what the experts are saying as well. It's quite relevant to us right now. And hopefully it clears. But I know in previous years, last year we got away with it pretty decent. We didn't have a lot of it last year. But this year, of course, we've started early. And it could get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, 5 o'clock seems to be prime time tonight. And then up island, it's a little different because of that fire, which is now on the smoke meter.
Right. It's creating quite a bit. And it's coming down. It's staying within the island, staying on top of Vancouver Island. That's the one up by Was?
Yes.
That one we have that's out of control. Yeah, it's not blowing out to sea. It's staying on the island. So it's sort of hunkering down. Not what you want to hear, but it's just good to know what it's doing and how to protect yourself and kids and seniors and especially anyone who has breathing problems.
7:16, here's CFAX 1070. Here's Lisa with your news headlines.
Thanks, Stephen. Good morning. The man accused of first-degree murder in the death of Bailey McCourt has been charged with one count of failing to comply with a no-contact order. The BC Prosecution Service says James Plover appeared in court yesterday for the alleged breach that happened September 24th in Pitt Meadows. Plover has been charged in the killing of his estranged wife, who died after being attacked with a hammer in a Kelowna parking lot last July. The murder trial is expected to begin in September. Plover also faces a charge of dangerous driving causing bodily harm that was laid in connection with a second victim on the day that McCourt was attacked. The BC Securities Commission is asking an Alberta man to respond to allegations of raising close to $5 million from investors and then spending most of it for personal use. The BCSC says the man was living in Comox between 2021 and 24. He raised $4.6 million on the promise of investing in cryptocurrency trading bots. The commission alleges he instead spent that money on travel, jewelry, vehicles, luxury goods while providing false statements during an investigation under oath. The allegations have yet to be proven in court. And before the war in Iran, roughly 15 million barrels of Persian Gulf oil were shipped each day through the Strait of Hormuz. Within a few years, much of that oil could bypass the strait. As Iran's chokehold over the strait drags on, oil prices surge. Countries around the Gulf are now planning to spend billions to build pipelines, enabling them to redirect most supplies to ports of the Red Sea, the Gulf of Oman, and the Mediterranean. At least 7 major pipeline projects are under construction, in the planning stages, or at least discussed as possibilities. That's your news to 7:18.
$7.20 here at CFAX 1070 for a comfortable home, no matter what the savings or no matter what the season, and big savings on your heating bill. Talk to Coastal Heat Pumps, designed for comfort. The South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. Things lighter than usual on the Trans-Canada Victoria bound at this hour. There's a little slowdown around Island Highway. Picks right back up again. Another little slowdown around the hospital. Picks right back up again. And it's all yellow zone. It's not any red, which is always a good sign. At the airport, the next available sailing out of Swartz Bay for the mainland is at 8 o'clock this morning. It has 14% available deck space. There's sailings right through until 9 o'clock this evening. I will say it's more booked up than usual, especially the 12 o'clock sailing only has 4% space available. The 1 o'clock has 9, and the 4 o'clock has 2. And everything's on time at the airport.
It's all here. News, weather, traffic, and community events. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
E-com costs are set to rise in some communities, but not others, after E-com committed to acting on an independent review. One of the local municipalities most affected is Souk, which is forecasting e-com costs will more than double what was expected in 2029, from $456,000 to $1.1 million. Souk Mayor Maya Tate joining us now to talk about the situation. Good morning, Your Worship.
Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning.
This is sad news. There are costs that municipalities can control, but this one's being imposed on you.
Yes, it is. However, it's a necessary service. ECOM is the service provider for 911. It's the only the only service provider available to us. And while we are not required to have this service, we are required to have police dispatch. There is no other practical option available to the District of Souk. And this is a service agreement that we, unfortunately, I don't feel we have an alternative and that we must enter into. And listeners may know that we've been advocating for other alternative funding to help offset this cost, something like a cell phone levy that you see on provincial bills in other provinces, and that's been advocacy to the province. However, to date, we have received no movement on that.
Did they explain why it would double?
Well, what they've actually done is they have rising costs through the next gen services. There's some technical pieces I don't fully understand, but they are using their reserve actually for the next 2 years. Otherwise, we would have jumped from the $430,000 that was paid in 2026 to over $700,000 in 2027. So they're using their reserve, some surplus to keep costs down over the next 2 years to phase it in. But we would be rising to over $1.2 million by 2030. And so we felt it was necessary to raise this matter to both council and the public, because in our financial plan, we were using the increase that was provided when we just recently. So we were going with about a 1% property tax increase year over year, not the jumps that have been outlined in this letter.
Is there anything you can really do about this?
We're getting more information. So the letters that we've received, we appreciate them sending this. And we've asked our staff are looking for more detailed information so we can explain it, because it seems that our increase is much higher than others. So is this covering off the whole geographic area out to Port Renfrew? Is it just the District of Souk proper? Getting more background. We'll be writing advocacy letters. We've already requested a meeting with the Solicitor General, because our challenge in a growing community is the need to also expand other related emergency services, including our CMP and fire, as well as bylaw other services. But those services are also costly. And now it seems we would be forced to choose between adding more boots on the ground just to sustain the 911 call.
And that's a tough call for a municipal government to make, because you're getting squeezed on so many other things.
We are, and our residential taxpayers, our property taxes is primarily on the backs of homeowners. So close to 90% of our property tax bills is just residents. We have little to no industry here and some commercial. And while we're doing our utmost to increase those shares of commercial and industrial taxes, it's not necessarily our timeline that matters. It's really working with developers to get to get that underway. So in the meantime, decisions are made. Even the cost of policing is increasing. We're responding to more medical calls because the province has not increased ambulance services. We don't want to leave residents or visitors without necessary medical response. And now we have this cost. So we're just stuck with it. Our advocacy to the province seems to have gone nowhere. And in fact, this was raised by local governments way back in 2011 up in the Caribou, likely because they saw mobile phones or cell phone use increasing with landline use decreasing. So once upon a time, it was determined how to put a levy on a landline, a rotary phone, but it cannot seem to put it on a mobile phone. And that is, so many folks use mobile devices to call 911 rather than a landline, which are fading out. How many listeners right now have a landline in their phone, in their house?
Correct. Maybe
I'm using a cell phone right now to talk to you.
And I have one right here beside me on the screen. You talked a little bit about next generation 911 infrastructure. What does that look like, and how does that fit into all this?
That's all part of what ECOM uses to provide the service. And from my understanding, all of that is being absorbed by local governments, and there has not been any investment by the province, or maybe there's some, I'm not aware of it. But largely that infrastructure to deliver this service is on the backs of local governments. And so ECOM itself is run out of the Lower Mainland. The board itself is comprised of Lower Mainland local governments. So I can see why they're trying to find a way to assist us, perhaps, by using their surplus because they understand local government and the cost pressures. However, they're all paying the same as well.
This is
probably a town like Surrey, a municipality like Surrey, has way more ability to absorb a hit like this than us.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us, and thanks for the continued advocacy. And I know you've got other municipalities, especially on the West Shore, that seems to be dealing with the same problem. And best of luck as you try to move it forward.
We'll continue on, and the best we can do is see a different way for local government financing to happen. The property tax framework was introduced in BC in the 1800s under the reign of Queen Victoria, and yet we're responding now to modern challenges and a different future. So maybe it's time to replace that antiquated system with something that actually works and serves the best interests of everyone in communities across BC.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship, and thanks for joining us this morning.
You bet. Have a safe day. It's a hot one out there, so take care, everyone.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island. Victoria Symphony presents Symphony in the Summer Festival, July 10th through August 9th. Details at victoriasymphony.ca. Catch all the excitement of summer baseball with the Victoria Harbour Cats. More info at harbourcats.com. Have an event you want featured on CFAX 1070? Text us at 71010 to be featured. Get more event info at CFAX1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
7:31 here at CFAX 1070, CTV Vancouver Island. A chance of a thunderstorm this afternoon. Time for CFAX 1070 News. Here's Lisa Best.
And that could bring more lightning, especially up island, something we don't need. BC wildfire update has 86 active wildfires burning the province, 15 new starts in the last 24 hours, and much of that lightning activity. 35 are considered out of control, including that blaze up island near Calpit Lake. On the mainland, some 700 residents in the village of Clinton are under evacuation order due to the 59 Creek wildfire burning nearby. The Thompson-Nicola Regional District also expanding an evacuation order alert for the Bonaparte Plateau area due to the same wildfire that's burning. An evacuation alert also for Texas Creek south of Lillooet. Early Wednesday, a controlled burn in the eastern flank of a fire threatening the 8,000 residents of Kimberley was scrapped due to an increase in the fire region's behavior. So if you are driving that way, a lot of BCers taking road trips this time of year, be aware that some routes may be closed as well. As we ran fans, heat pumps and air conditioners cranked on high speed this week, BC Hydro says we set a new all-time summer peak electricity demand record between 5 and 6 Tuesday afternoon. Data shows that the peak electricity hour reached 8,715 megawatts, surpassing the previous summer record of just over 8,600 set last August. Hacks to beat the heat includes running a fan that's 9 hours a day would cost you about $7 over the course of the summer, so quite cheap. BC Hydro says nearly 70% of households in this province now have some form of air conditioning. Of course, here in the Greater Victoria area, we're relying heavily on heat pumps. Fresh off 2 talks of days in Charlottetown, today the premiers will meet with the Prime Minister. American trade top of mind. Premiers say they remain united against Donald Trump's administration's new threat of 50% tariffs on many Canadian goods starting in mid-August. BC Premier David Eby expressing frustration at U.S. levies that impact some industries and leave others untouched. He says the U.S. needs to decide what it really wants.
We can't have a country on one hand attacking one group of families and workers while hoping to have access to the resources in Canada that the rest of the world wants. The United States needs to make up its mind. And I will say, frankly, from British Columbia's perspective, that we support the Prime Minister making that case at the table. If you want a strong partner, if you want the friendship that's benefited North Americans for generations, then let's have that. And if you don't want that, we need to be looking to the rest of the world.
The premiers yesterday called on the federal government to boost its share of healthcare funding and back major projects that can spur their economies. We're hearing more about what's behind Donald Trump's latest threats of 50% tariffs on a wide range of Canadian products. This from his government's top trade official. Jameson Greer was grilled before a group of U.S. senators yesterday about the move and where it leaves talks to renegotiate CUSMA. CTV's Judy Trin with those details.
Donald Trump dug up a zombie law to make things even more expensive for Americans.
The U.S. trade representative justified the actions.
We're fighting against a ban on American liquor on shelves. We've never banned Canadian products. We've never done that kind of thing.
How are you approaching the risk of retaliatory tariffs from Canada?
I talked with my Canadian counterpart yesterday. They did not say they're going to retaliate.
Greer says he's hopeful that he'll be able to present interim options to the president before the end of the year.
And we've lost a great in jazz. Montreal jazz pianist Oliver Jones has died. He was 91.
Oliver Jones's family and record label Just in Time Records announced his death last evening in Montreal without specifying the cause. During a career packed with Canadian and international acclaim, Jones shared the stage with jazz greats Sarah Vaughan, Buddy Rich, and Tony Bennett. Since the mid-'80s, Jones racked up a slew of jazz awards and honorary doctorates, netting the Order of Canada, a SOCAN Lifetime Award, and induction into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame.
And that is your news to 7:35. Your CFAX 1070 News poll question this morning. We're asking you if you agree with the deal between the provinces to allow brewers and distillers to sell alcohol directly to consumers in other provinces and territories. 98% say yes. You can vote now at CFAX1070.com or on the iHeartRadio app. And Lisa, best your news time is 7:37.
Thank you, Lisa. The weather forecast for Greater Victoria, kind of a mixed bag, a little bit of everything, maybe a little thunderstorm. Cloudy, chance of showers, and this morning, then a mix of sun and cloud, risk of a thunderstorm, high near 24. Humidex going to make it feel like 29. Partly cloudy tonight, low down to 14, mainly sunny tomorrow, high near 23. Cloudy with a 40% chance of showers on Saturday with a high near 20. Right now, Victoria Harbour, 17 degrees. In sports, the Blues Jay Bats silent again. Tampa Bay beat Toronto 4-2. That's Toronto's fourth straight loss. Manager John Schneider says his whole lineup needs some help right now, and his batters may be just trying too hard.
I think, it's been a tough stretch for sure. Kind of collectively up and down, but hopefully you make adjustments. You know, you kind of like the way you start, and today that is. But I think guys grinding, guys pressing. So you kind of combine that with good pitching, and that's kind of where we're at.
Tampa Bay 4-2 winners, of course, last night. Cincinnati topped the Mariners 5-3 in Seattle. Harbor Cats trounced Nanaimo 16-6 last night. Shamrocks have won 6 in a row. They edged Nanaimo 9-8 last night. Down at the Save-On Foods Memorial Centre, Team Canada knocked off UCLA 69-55. Need a cab? Download the new Bluebird Cabs app at Bluebird Cabs Ltd. Bluebird Cabs, proudly local and Canadian owned and run since 1946. Checking your highways in and around Greater Victoria at this hour. The Trans-Canada's a little busy as you approach Island Highway, Victoria bound. Picks up again before you get to the hospital and is in pretty good shape there. Things getting a little congested in the Saanich Core on Douglas Street, although Blanchard seems to be in pretty good shape. So if you're looking for an alternate route, Blanchard seems to be moving a little bit better until you get to Hillside Avenue, and then the things reverse itself, and then Douglas is a better option at that point in particular. Checking the markets at this hour, the TSX is down 187 points at 35,297. The Dow Jones down 509 at 51,709. And the NASDAQ down 512 points at 25,178. The Canadian dollar sitting at 71 cents U.S.
Don't attempt your morning commute without us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
And we got a little update from Mayor Tate about the 911 service. Mm-hmm. The province has invested into that new generation 911 for the modernization from analog to digital form, costs now transitioning from the province to the local government.
That's good news.
So thank you for the update about that and making sure we set the record straight. Of course, we in radio often leave the mic open when we shouldn't.
Oh, what happened?
Not to me.
Oh, okay.
So, but to somebody else.
It's not us, it's you.
It's not me. So this happened in Sacramento, California. The mayor and vice mayor of Sacramento were caught on the mic talking about ways to remove disruptive people from city council meetings. The vice mayor could be heard telling the mayor what the process is for removing someone.
Oh.
We should go over this disruptions thing because if we want to ban somebody in the future.
Here it is again, because it's really quick.
We should go over this disruptions thing because if we want to ban somebody in the future.
Seconds later, she realized the microphone was still on, lunged forward to turn it off. The Sacramento Bee says it came during a recess that began after an audience disruption.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If there's a mic in the room, you should just assume it's on.
That's actually what they teach people in public relations school.
Yes, as a journalist, yes. If broadcast journalism, if there's a microphone in the room, assume it's on.
Yes. And yes, there are rules. You're supposed to tell somebody and all that stuff, but...
Well, they did sort of, kind of. Everyone at once. Everyone got to know in real time.
I think it's pretty cute.
Well, not for the person receiving it. So,
but
however.
We know those things happen more. Some of the classic ones are like...
become human interest.
Yes, they do. There's a lot of fun to be had by listening into what's going on behind the scene.
Can be.
Yes.
Depending on how colorful it gets. There was a recent one earlier last month, actually, on a more or less local station.
Yes.
Didn't realize the mic was open. And it was very colorful language that was shared, raising some eyebrows. However, we all fall prey to it at some point.
Yes.
So, we're human.
Yeah. Some comments from listeners. Steve, I grew up about 100 miles west of Jasper in BC and had friends in Jasper. I hiked the Moline Canyon, the Berg Lake Trail, and I learned to ski at Marmot Basin.
Huh.
We were not a wealthy family, but I was a spoiled kid. Best wishes to your friends on the rebuild. Of course, we mentioned that some houses are starting to pop up in Jasper 2 years after the fire.
It's a long time to wait.
Yes.
2 years.
And some of the housing they brought in, it's similar to the work camps you would see in Fort McMurray.
Okay.
To sustain people through so that the community can, because you still got to generate the revenue and everything else to make things work. So people were still working in Jasper even last year. So
temporary housing?
Yeah, temporary housing,
okay.
Whatever they needed to survive and get through. And I think that's another reason why Jasper might have been more successful so far than Lytton is because you had that. You brought in the housing, so people still had that attachment to the area, and it was just necessary too because you're in the middle of a national park. You still got to run the park,
right? So they got some help.
So thank you for that comment. That actually is I loved his selection. Of places in Jasper.
Marmot.
Moline Canyon, that was one of the places most affected by the fire.
Okay.
There used to be this really nice, it was a tea house at one point, and they modernized it into this wonderful restaurant that had the best beef brisket you'll ever have. It's gone.
Wow.
The Berg Lake Trail is actually in Mount Robson Provincial Park. And they've had some issues there due to climate change as well with debris coming down onto the trail. So they've had to rework that. And Marmot Basin, the ski hill was the road up really had a lot of damage because, as we've found out, when you put out a fire, that means that the trees aren't there that stabilize the land. And when you're going up a very steep hill, like you went up to Marmot Basin, that causes a problem too.
Right.
Because you got to rebuild all the infrastructure on the road.
And that's what we had on the way to Bamfield too.
Exactly.
With the fire basically crossing the highway. Hydro poles were taken out, trees were taken down. It was a mess. The fire leaves a mess behind, so it takes a while to rebuild.
So thank you for your kind comments, for sure. 7:46, here's Lisa with your news headlines.
Thank you, Stephen. Good morning. Stats Canada reporting retail sales rose 1% to $73.7 billion in the month of May. The agency says sales at gas stations and fuel vendors posted the large jump for the month, boosted by higher prices. In volume terms, overall retail sales rose 0.3% for May. Stats Canada says the advanced estimates suggest retail sales increased 0.4% in June, but caution, of course, that figure will be revised. As WestJet faces turbulence, 4,400 flight attendants threatening to strike as soon as August 2nd. Yes, that is 10 days from now. 11,000 Air Canada technical operations, maintenance, and operational support group staff have ratified their new contract with the airline. Air Canada says its new collective agreements with all of its major unions follows the expiration of the previously long-term contracts. That means 6 new collective agreements have been ratified at Air Canada this year. Now, Air Canada Chief Executive Michael Rousseau says the airline is well positioned to advance its strategic plans, and chances are take some WestJet passengers with them too. And a new study has determined that black skin lesions found on catfish in eastern parts of Canada and the U.S. are a transmissible type of skin cancer. University of Vermont studied this cancer that spreads from fish to fish like a parasite. The disease is only the 4th form of transmissible cancer ever documented in the wild. Researchers began the investigation on a lake that straddles Quebec and Vermont since at least 2012. Anglers and biologists have been reporting seeing an increase in brown bullhead catfish with raised black skin patches coming from the lake. That's your news to 7:48.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island. Victoria Symphony presents Symphony in the Summer Festival, July 10th through August 9th. Details at victoriasymphony.ca. Catch all the excitement of summer baseball with the Victoria Harbour Cats. More info at harbourcats.com. Have an event you want featured on CFAX 1070? Text us at 71010 to be featured. Get more event info at cfax1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX Mornings are brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Until August 5th, get 600 Scene Plus points when you buy any participating cheeses and meats to build your own summer snacking bundle. That's at Thrifty Foods. On the highways, first, let's start at the ferry terminal this time. There's just 7% available deck space on the 8 o'clock sailing out of Swartz Bay for the mainland. The 9 o'clock has 15%. As we mentioned, some of the sailings are almost full at this point. Just 4% left on the noon, 9% on the 1, and 3% on the 4 o'clock. On the highways, it's getting a little busy on the Trans-Canada, basically from Thetis to the Curve, but it's certainly not as congested as it has been every other day so far this week.
Thanks for starting your day with us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
And we have another guest as there is increased pressure on securing a Canada-U.S. trade deal amid an escalation in U.S. tariffs. The BC Conservative Party are urging the province to get rid of the American liquor ban off the shelves. They're saying it invites retaliation. Ward Stamer is the BC forestry critic and is joining us now to share his perspective. Good morning, Ward. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
So what's your concern with how the province has been handling these trade troubles?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, we had a meeting with our American counterparts a couple of weeks ago, and that's why we, had the opportunity to have this discussion with them, is that it doesn't seem like the NDP is really doing anything other than trying to, get the Americans angry at us. And on the U.S. booze part, I mean, we've always been, very proactive about it. Let's have the conversation. I mean, members of the public have the opportunity to decide whether they want to buy the products or not. I mean, we export 3 times the amount of alcohol to the United States that we import back. So eventually something like this was going to happen, and that's one of the reasons why we'd reached out 2 weeks ago to have a conversation about a bunch of different things, and alcohol was one of them.
Is this one of those things that came up during your meeting with the U.S. ambassador earlier this month?
Yes, it was. And I mean, again, I'm not going to tell you everything that was said in the meeting. The ambassador was very apolitical because we are not the sitting government. We just talked about a bunch of different ideas and some of the things that are going on in our province, including tariffs, including the softwood lumber agreement, including mining and border security and a bunch of different things. And yeah, we brought it up. And my biggest question to everyone out there is, where's the NDP on this file? When's the last time they actually sat down with our largest trading partner and started discussing trade?
Did you feel like you got something out of that meeting with Mr. Hoekstra?
Absolutely. Absolutely we did. And then I was just in Edmonton for a couple of days at the Penwar Economic Conference, and both the ambassador was there and the Councillor General was there, and I walked back with the Councillor General from one of the functions on Monday night for about 20 minutes. Now, I didn't see any of my NDP counterparts having those types of opportunities. You've got to make those opportunities when you can and have the ear of our largest trading partner. I mean, $2.5 billion a day is traded between our two countries.
We're running a poll on CFAX 1070 that basically says 98% of our listeners that are participating in the poll back the ban on liquor. What would you say to those listeners?
Again, it's unfortunate because, 3 to 4 times more is being sold to the U.S. than what we're purchasing back. And now with these types of tariffs, we're going to start seriously affecting our BC wine industry. Do the 98% really want that to happen? Because, again, all the public has to decide whether they want to buy it or not. It's costing taxpayers millions of dollars a year storing this U.S. booze. Does that make any sense? I don't know why that many people would not want to at least have the opportunity to buy it or not.
But of all the things we've done, Canada didn't start this trade war. It's just been in a reactive mode. Of all the things that we've done, this is the one that seems to have affected the U.S. side the most. And I'm thinking of Kentucky and Tennessee in particular. Why would you take something off the table that looks like it's working before you have a trade agreement? Like it seems like you've got this stick, one of the sticks you found you have. Why would you give it up?
I don't think it's a very big stick because, again, the numbers don't support that it's a big stick. It's sort of like poking them in the eye, because if it was really truly something that meant something to them, they would have done something a whole lot sooner than waiting over a year to do that. So I would disagree that it's really much of a negotiating position at all. I read a tweet yesterday by Ravi Kahlon that said that, when you guys had this meeting with the American ambassador, you capitulated. Well, first of all, they didn't bring it up. We did, and we didn't capitulate. We're working for BC, not against BC. So that's why I would disagree that is really much of a negotiating stick. This is more of a poke in the eye stick.
Okay. It's still hard for me to understand that as a country, we've decided to do this. It's not just one province like BC. The only two that are not on board with this are Alberta and Saskatchewan, and originally they were, and they walked that back, and they can make that decision. BC's been a pretty staunch advocate of a Team Canada approach. Don't you think we need to be part of the general Canada approach rather than the BC-Saskatchewan one?
I would suggest, you mean the Alberta-Saskatchewan?
Yeah.
I would suggest if you actually look between the lines, the Prime Minister said the provinces have the ability to do whatever they want to do. And right now, it's winning for Alberta and Saskatchewan. Look at some of the deals that they're signing on the energy side of things. And look how well our federal government did with the Gordie Howe Bridge. I mean, we were supposed to get the revenue back from that bridge until it was paid for, and then it was going to be shared 50-50. If you want to talk about capitulation, what did our federal government go and do? They set up a deal where it's going to be 50-50 from day one on the 27th of July, and 100% of that economic development fund is going to be controlled by the Americans. So if you want to talk about capitulation, let's talk about the federal government.
Thanks for joining us this morning and bringing the tariff issue back to the front burner. Much appreciated.
Well, you're welcome, and I hope that we can actually do something meaningful on this file and get BC back to work again and not have forestry workers being continually laid off.
Ward Stammer is the BC Conservative Forestry critic.
CFAX Victoria,
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, Vancouver Island. It is Thursday. We're getting there. One more day. Thursday, July 23rd. Chance of a thunderstorm today. Time for CFAX 1070 News. Here's Lisa Best.
Thanks, Stephen. Good morning. Yes, more communities across BC are under threat from separate out-of-control wildfires. And, of course, we have the possibility of more lightning strikes to come. The Squamish-Lillooet Regional District issuing an overnight evacuation order for the South Chilcotin Mountain area. An evacuation alert also issued for the area around Texas Creek, south of Lillooet. Earlier yesterday, a controlled burn on the eastern flank of a wildfire threatening the 8,000 residents of Kimberley. That was scrapped due to an increase in the fire region's behavior. The BC Wildfire Service says there's about 86 fires burning province-wide, 15 new starts in the last day. 35 are considered out of control, and that includes that fire up island near Was. It's near Calpit Lake. A fast-moving fire that gutted a Duncan carport destroyed 4 vehicles early yesterday, forcing 13 residents out of home. 30 firefighters fought the blaze. Crews from Duncan joined by North Cowichan South End Fire Department and Cowichan Bay Volunteer Fire Services. Luckily, no one was injured, but very dramatic footage taken from site shows the flames roiling through the building. Emergency support services are now helping the 13 displaced deal with their living situation. The cause of that blaze continues to be under investigation. Canadian Blood Services says they're facing a shortage as blood donations plummeted over the last several weeks, since June 1st, down nearly 20%. It notes the shortfall is beyond the usual drop in donations that usually comes during the summer months when people are away and out of their normal schedule. Canadian Blood Services says all blood types are needed, and they'll be adding more opportunities for you to donate, including more weekend appointments at its centres. Premier Mark Carney, Prime Minister, that is Mark Carney, don't demote him, says unity is Canada's greatest strength, and he and Canada's premiers will huddle to prepare in response for the fresh tariff threats from the U.S., which could take effect August 19th. Carney told reporters ahead of his meeting with the First Ministers today that Canada is in a stronger position than we were when the trade war started, thanks to the focus of people around that table.
Canadian governments around this table will do whatever it takes to defend and support our families, our workers, and our businesses.
The Premier's FaceTime with Carney comes at the end of a 3-day conference in Charlottetown hosted by PEI. Another side to the tariff story is how Canada-U.S. relations of late are impacting the planned opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge tomorrow. CTV's Michael Couture says what we know now is the deal with the bridge will see revenues being shared between both countries for the first 15 years, despite Canada fronting the cost to build the span.
But that contradicts what Prime Minister Mark Carney told CTV Calgary 10 days ago.
We are sharing after Canada is paid back.
Carney attempted to clarify things a few days later.
Any sharing of the toll revenue won't happen until all of the debt is repaid.
Carney's shifting message drew criticism from the Conservatives.
It's hard for me to believe that him and his finance minister did not know what they were saying at the time.
Friday's bridge opening event was supposed to include U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and Ambassador Pete Hoekstra.
Now, tomorrow's event will feature only Canadian officials calling the larger plan inappropriate in light of the recent U.S. trade threats. The U.S. military keeping up attacks on Iranian targets.
Overnight, American firepower hit Iran for a 12th straight night. And Iran striking back at U.S. military targets in Kuwait. The U.S. Central Command said the strikes are meant to stop Tehran from threatening commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's Revolutionary Guard claimed a tanker that tried to slip through caught fire on a mined route and warned any ship that defies Tehran will, quote, meet the same fate.
And in Florida, researchers are bringing endangered elkhorn coral ashore to better protect them.
Elkhorn coral grows big, broad branches that resemble the antlers of an elk. Populations off the Florida coast were decimated 3 years ago by a heat wave that left them functionally extinct. Colonies too small and far apart to reproduce.
A warmer ocean absorbs less carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and it also changes the acidity.
And Samantha Burgess of the Copernicus Climate Change Service says more acidic waters are tough on marine organisms
that need that calcium carbonate to develop their skeletons.
Amid concern of another mass bleaching event this summer, University of Miami scientists this week gathered 30 genetically diverse pieces of elkhorn coral, taking them to a hatchery aiming to preserve any resistance they may have. I'm Ben Thomas.
That's your news to 8:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. We're asking you about the agreement with the provinces to allow brewers and distillers to sell alcohol directly to consumers in other provinces and territories. 98% like the idea. You can vote now at CFAX1070.com, also on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best. Your news time is 8:06.
Yeah, I got that wrong. I quoted the wrong poll. I shouldn't have quoted the CFAX poll, and the listeners pointed that out to me, and you're absolutely positively right. The poll I should have been pointing to was a Nanos research poll that indicated 82% of Canadians support boycotting U.S. alcohol imports. So I got that one wrong, and I will beg forgiveness
But
from
still,
the listening
it wasn't the news poll, but we still have over 80% of Canadians saying that we should stay the course. The thing is with BC, with alcohol here, private companies can still sell it. Private distributors can still sell it, right?
Yes, they can.
Right. So it's just BC liquor stores where you can't find American booze. So it's kind of like a banned light, as it were. You can still find the products you want, but we're basically putting a line in the stand with the U.S. and telling them, well, this is what we want. It's bourbon, Kentucky bourbon distributors have made a fuss about it because I guess we drink a lot of that in Canada.
Yeah, there was basically a quote in the Senate. How can we get Canadians to buy Jack Daniels again?
I had no idea we imbibed that so much, but
the other thing one of the listeners is questioning is my comment about the bridge.
With the Gordie Howe Bridge?
And how things unfolded. So just as a fact check, the wealthy owner of the nearly century-old Ambassador Bridge connecting Michigan and Ontario gave $1 million to a Trump-aligned political action committee less than a month before the president unleashed an online tirade against the new Gordie Howe Bridge. According to records, Matthew Maroon made a $1 million contribution to MAGA Inc. on January 16th, and then a month later. So there's your doing a fact check of myself there.
Okay. Keeping you honest, Stevie.
Keeping me honest. So, but yeah. Okay. Weather forecast for Greater Victoria. Your weekend forecast isn't as bad as it was midweek, right? We got mix of sun and cloud on Sunday. Cloudy with a 40% chance of showers on Saturday. We're down to 40. It was way higher than that before.
Yes, it was. It was 80.
Yes. Today, 30% chance of showers early this morning, then a mix of sun and cloud. There's a risk of a thunderstorm with a high near 24. Partly cloudy tonight, low down to 14. Mainly sunny tomorrow with a high near 23. All the heat warnings across the island are no longer in effect. Right now in downtown Victoria, it's 17 degrees. Checking sports, Shamrocks 6 in a row now. Edged Nanaimo 9-8 last night. They have 2 games left in the regular season. They host Burnaby in the final regular season home game on Sunday, but they've clinched home court advantage for the entire playoffs. Harbor Cats trounced Nanaimo 16-6 last night. Blue Jays lost 4-2 to Tampa Bay. Cincinnati topped the Mariners 5-3. The Whitecaps fell 4-3 in Cincinnati. The NFL Thursday nighter, Edmonton visiting Saskatchewan. Team Canada knocked off the defending NCAA champions, UCLA, 69-55 at the Save-On Food Center last night. 8:11 here at CFAX 1070, checking the traffic situation. Let's start at the ferry terminal this hour. And the next available sailing's at 9 o'clock. It has 12% available deck space right now. Checking your situation, lighter than normal volume on the Trans-Canada Victoria bound. A couple minor slowdowns, but things are flowing nicely. Little congested in the Hillside Drive area and around Mayfair Shopping Centre on Douglas Street. Blanchard a little backed up once you get past Hillside, but other than that, things are in very, very good shape this morning. TSX down 212 points at 35,272. Dow Jones off 499 at 51,719. The S&P 500 is down 93 points at 7405, and the Nasdaq down 613 points at 25,076. Crude's up $5 at 91.89 after everything that's been going on in the Middle East over the last 24 hours. Western Canadian crude is up 97 cents at 69.08. And the Canadian dollar is sitting at 71 cents U.S.
In the kitchen, in the car, and at the office. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Take us with you. Listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
You know what America's doing as part of the 250th birthday celebrations?
Yeah, I've been loosely keeping track.
Okay. You got the big race going through by the White House with Indy cars.
Right.
But more importantly,
okay,
the world's largest hot dog has returned to Times Square. Let's see if we can get that working for you here. Whoop.
Slippery hot dog.
Slippery hot dog. Somebody put ketchup on it and ruined it. That's what did it.
Oh, I'd love to be an Oscar Mayer. Hot dog, the second serving, marks a return to the crossroads of the world for the 65-foot-long wiener with a toasted bun and a majestic sweep of yellow mustard after its initial visit in 2024 went viral. The Frank occasionally uses hidden hydraulics to rise above the crowd and blast spectators with confetti. The animatronic sculpture by artists Jen Carton and Paul Outlaw will be on display through August 8th. In New York, I'm Daria Albinger.
I would find it disconcerting, not even mildly, to be blasted with confetti from a oversized hot dog. Among the things on my bucket list, solid pass.
Really?
And
but it's an
you're in.
Oscar Mayer wiener.
Again, terrifying.
And they just put mustard on it.
Somebody said, that's a good idea. Let's do that. It's not even real, right? It's like a float thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you find this gold? Where do you find this?
This is my thing. I have to find two or three obscure little things that will have the listener and viewer talking.
Yeah.
So they're going to go to work and say, did you hear about the giant hot dog in New York City?
Oh, it's like the art museum in Europe that smeared peanut butter all over the floor.
Right. Like
those peanut butter days when you're slogging through peanut butter. You can go to an art gallery now and pay admission to get into that.
Was it crunchy or smoothie?
That's a good question.
See,
no idea. I would
prefer
prefer smooth. So did you see the blueberry incident outside of Mission yesterday?
Okay, tell me about this one.
A whole crate of blueberries hit the road.
Uh-oh.
It was a jam. Traffic jam. But no,
look at the time.
See, now you're doing it to me. A motorcyclist actually slipped on it, and then they finally got barricades in place. They put some cones up, Steve. You'd be triggering over that. So, yeah, it was unfortunate. A lot of berries, went to waste, as we have, this time of year when we're moving things around. It was a massive crate of blueberries. So they were smeared all over the road. The cleanup happened, and this was outside of Mission. That is all.
Okay.
It wasn't a hot dog.
8:16 here at CFAX 1070, where we talk about weird stuff. Here's some actual news with Lisa.
it's not weird, but certainly a sour note to that big concert planned for the Inner Harbour in early August. The Victoria Symphony Orchestra will not be involved in it. The David Foster Foundation putting out a notice yesterday saying that the symphony will not be accompanying orchestra, that is, David Foster and friends at the Foundation's free 40th anniversary Victoria Harbour concert. That happens on August 8th. The statement shares that David Foster remains dedicated to bringing a free world-class concert to Victoria to thank the community that has supported the Foundation for more than 40 years. So you can still look forward to an evening featuring more than 10 internationally acclaimed artists on stage. In the past 2 days, Canada's premiers spent hours round-table discussions to work out shared domestic priorities. Meanwhile, the Council of the Federation Conference in PEI, for the premiers requesting Ottawa renewing health transfer agreements to the provinces and territories that will begin to expire next year. They also want the federal government to commit to increasing the share of healthcare funding by 5% annually starting in April of 2028. Premiers are meeting face-to-face with Prime Minister Mark Carney today. Ottawa is assuring Canadian businesses that there will be help if the new U.S. tariffs that are being threatened come into effect on August 19th. Industry Minister Mélanie Joly says she's already begun discussions with business leaders to understand their needs. Joly says government will make sure to negotiate a good deal in the best interest of Canadians, but we are dealing with the Trump administration, which plans to impose 50% tariffs on a wide range of Canadian products, including wine, cement, even honey, starting August 19th. And that is your news to 8:18.
CFAX Mornings are brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Until August 5th, get 600 Scene Plus points when you buy any participating cheeses and meats to build your own summer snacking bundle. Well, if you were planning to get on the 9 o'clock ferry from Swartz Bay to the mainland, that ship has sailed. See what I did there? The 9 o'clock already full. The 10 o'clock has 16% available deck space. The 11 has 10, and the noon sailing has just 4% left. Everything's been on time so far today at the airport. On the highways, it's been lighter than usual. You're going to find it's a very easy drive from the West Shore into downtown Victoria today. Little slow spots on Douglas Street, but that's about it.
Ryan and Lisa. Mornings on CFAX 1070. Remember, you have us in the palm of your hand. For listeners on the go, listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Premiers are signaling unity as the First Minister's meeting in PEI continues, as Canada's feeling renewed pressure to secure a trade deal with the U.S. after Trump signed an executive order to issue 50% tariffs on some goods. Meanwhile, oil prices are seeing some renewed volatility as the Houthis have declared a blockade of Saudi Arabia and shot at a couple of ships yesterday. Retired diplomat here in Victoria, Jeremy Kinsman, is joining us to share his read on the situation. Welcome back, Jeremy. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Steve. My pleasure.
So this is every day there's something new, and the Houthis sort of got the headlines with the shots at the Saudi tankers.
Yeah, they did. They did. They're part of the mix now. You know, they're really three ways this war. It is a war can go. It can get better and return to the ceasefire that was negotiated in that 18-point plan in Pakistan. But to do that, it's got to confront the fact that the United States and Iran never really agreed on the two basic points that are dividing them, and that's one, the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran's belief that they have to impose some kind of tariffs to recoup some money, enough money to enable their reconstruction of their absolutely battered country through American and Israeli attacks, and two, the nuclear program and their right to enrich. So there's little what will I say, hope that that's going to happen. It's going to get better in the near future. Will it get worse? Will the war widen? That's what's happening. Yeah. And the Houthis, who are a proxy of Iran, operating against the government of Yemen, they're now throwing their capacity into the mix by stopping oil that comes from Saudi Arabia that exits on the other side of the peninsula through the Red Sea. And turning off that sort of escape route, if you want, for about 3 million barrels a day. So the price of oil is now back up over 100 barrels with tremendous impact on poor countries. It's not just Americans at the pump that are paying the price. It's countries that use fertilizer, and the long-term implications are going to last probably for generations. The third possibility, and it's the most probable, I guess, is that this thing is just going to settle in to a state of hostility with sporadic bursts of violence. That, frankly, is what Israel wants because it helps Netanyahu. But it's pretty dire, and it's animated and turned upside down by Donald Trump's volatile, mercurial, topsy-turvy way of dealing with issues and communications. So it's not the stability, and certainly not the solution that the world wants. So there you have it, Steve.
Well, two complicating things I noticed yesterday. First of all, one of them has been long-term. Obviously, the memo got issued from President Trump to Benjamin Netanyahu to stay out of this because as things have escalated, it hasn't included Israel yet.
That's right. Israel's been told not to yet in this round. This is between the United States and Iran, who were the two parties to the negotiation, and Israel should not, having got the United States into this whole thing, should stay out of this phase altogether. That's right. It's not a pleasing outcome for Netanyahu, and he continues to roil the waters by poking up the violence in Lebanon, which is a factor for the Iranians. That is the future of Hezbollah, who is their proxy, but also a local force of considerable political consequence in Lebanon. So, yeah, that's definitely a factor.
And the other thing I noticed yesterday, and it didn't get the headlines probably because of everything else going on, was the U.S. basically inked a deal to allow Saudi Arabia to intensify uranium towards a nuclear weapon.
Well, yeah, they didn't put it that way. It's supposed to. They're allowed to enrich uranium with a view to developing a viable nuclear industry for peaceful energy purposes. But it's more or less identical to the terms under which, from the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal that Trump torn up. It's basically those terms that were in that deal that have been offered here to Saudi Arabia, but it alarmed Israel, and Israel said, "Look, what are you doing? I mean, they're not necessarily buddy. So Trump yesterday added the condition, which is impossible for Saudi Arabia to accept, that Saudi Arabia join the celebrated Abraham Accords, and for diplomatic and other relations with Israel. They're not going to do that because of Gaza. They're not going to, sort of whitewash Israeli behavior in Gaza to the detriment of the Palestinian cause. So it's another spoke in the wheel that you get with Trump. Everything is backwards, forwards, sideways, forgotten, misrepresented. And it's very difficult to see where it's going.
Now, do you think part of the strategy about the Saudi and enrichment thing is to provide a counterbalance in case Iran does survive this and still have that capacity?
Well, yeah, I think, by the way, Iran is going to survive it. One of the great mistakes of Trump is to underestimate, Iran's resilience and to overestimate the power of bombardment from the air to change a country's mind. It's not working. I think that the deal with Saudi Arabia was also very, very much a U.S. business deal. I mean, it's not to support the development of a peaceful nuclear industry in Saudi Arabia for its own sake. It was for the sake of the American providers and partners in that. And it's, I think that was the primary purpose. Iran is going to hold on to the leverage that it has, and that's why they want some form of control over the Strait of Hormuz going forward. And they want to keep the leverage they have with their nuclear program. They have the right to enrich up to a certain point. The bar for enrichment for peaceful purposes is pretty low. I mean, it's a 3.5% enriched part of uranium, whereas nuclear weapons are vastly more, way up towards 80%. So, but nonetheless, they feel entitled to keep that. And it's something that the United States should go along with. But the United States, they lost a tremendous asset they had. They never recognized it. Now they miss it. I don't think Trump understands it. But that of the obligatory inspection regime from the International Atomic Energy Agency, which was part of the original Iran nuclear deal. They need an inspection presence in Iran, and they can only get that with the deal. If they do get that, then the whole point of scrutinizing enrichment becomes, it's not easy, but becomes much more transparent. So it's a mess, is what I'd say. And until people can sort the logic out of what's possible and what's doable and what is negotiable, it's going to stay, I think, a mess. The point, I guess, is to keep it from escalating any further. And that's going to take some forbearance from Washington.
Thank you so much for joining us. I love your insight. Every time I talk to you, I learn something. And, we'll keep an eye on things, and I'm sure we'll be coming back to you in the future.
Well, thank you, Steve. You don't. Every time if I do that, that's generous. It's because I've learned it from someone else, right?
That's great, and you pass it on, and much appreciated.
Okay, thank you.
Jeremy Kinsman.
This summer, 3 of Vancouver Island's biggest voices are coming together to make a real difference.
Get your tickets now for the Kids Count Mega Summer 50-50.
Brought to you by 107.3 Virgin Radio, CFAX 1070, and CTV.
In support of CFAX Santa's Anonymous all-new Kids Count program, supporting children beyond Christmas.
The Mega Summer 50-50.
Your chance to win big while giving back.
Buy your tickets today at CFAX1070.com.
Gaming event license 174660. CFAX Victoria,
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
It's 8:33 on Thursday, July the 23rd. Chance of a thunderstorm in our forecast. Time for CFAX 1070 News. Here's Lisa Best.
Thanks, Steve. Historically, this is a time of year where supplies dip. Food banks and for blood banks, too. Canada Blood Services urging people of all blood types now to roll up their sleeve to donate.
Canadian Blood Services says it is facing a shortage, with its blood supply decreasing by nearly 20% since June 1st. The agency manages the blood supply in all provinces except Quebec. It says it needs about 18,000 blood donations a week to keep pace with hospital demand throughout the rest of the country. There's currently been a shortfall of between 1,500 and 2,500 appointments each week. A spokesperson says blood has a shelf life of only 42 days, so today's donation will quickly make its way to a patient. Naira Ahmed, The Canadian Press.
Lots of debate continues to swirl between Canada's premiers and Mark Carney today, meeting over how to respond to Donald Trump's latest tariff threats. Carney is joining the premiers as they continue the meeting in PEI. They'll meet with him today. Industry Minister Millie Joly offered these comments on the trade spat.
We will make sure that we negotiate a good deal. The Prime Minister is in charge of negotiating. He is hearing the different points of views of his ministers, of also different business leaders across the country.
So far, Carney has put the emphasis on intensifying trade talks with the U.S., hasn't committed to any actions if these new tariffs take effect August 19th. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew sharing his thoughts. Maintaining universal access to working healthcare system, he says, is a crucial part of keeping a strong, independent Canada.
As we think about what is happening between our country and the threat of the Trump tariffs, to me, there can be no bigger nation-building project than building up this nation's people. And that has to include healthcare, universal public access to healthcare.
The Premier is also requesting Ottawa renew healthcare transfer agreements with the provinces and territories that will start expiring next year and commit to increasing the share of healthcare funding by 5% a year starting in 2028. An independent task force has been assembled to advise the federal government on how to make better decisions and be more accountable in key areas. That includes digital government, AI, major projects, and Arctic sovereignty. The 9-member task force is planning to give Ottawa independent advice on how to simplify decision-making, coordinate internally, and modernize the public service. The group has a year-long mandate, and and includes a former national security advisor to the Prime Minister, a former CEO of energy giant Trans Mountain Corporation, and former deputies across several departments. And that is your news to 8:36. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question: do you agree with the deal to allow brewers and distillers to sell alcohol directly to consumers in other provinces and territories? 98% saying yes. On our website, on our Twitter page, the 100 or so votes, 100% saying good idea. You can vote now at CFAX1070.com, also on the iHeartRadio app. And Lisa, best your news time is 8:37.
Thank you, Lisa. Weather forecast for Greater Victoria for today: cloudy, 30% chance of showers, then a mix of sun and cloud. There's the risk of a thunderstorm. It'll be hazy again with a high near 24, 20 where the winds blow on shore. Humidex's going to make it feel much warmer at 29. Partly cloudy tonight, low down to 14, mainly sunny tomorrow with a high near 23. Right now, downtown, it's 15 degrees. In sports, all things Blue Jays pointing to them being sellers at the trade deadline. They've lost 3 more in a row, falling again to Tampa Bay 4-2 last night. They close out the series with the Rays with an afternoon game today in Toronto. Cincinnati topped the Mariners 5-3 in Seattle. CFL Thursday Nighter has Edmonton visiting Saskatchewan. The BC Lions back in action Saturday. That's a 4 o'clock start as they host the Argos. The Victoria Shamrocks have now won 6 in a row. They edged Nanaimo 9-8 last night. They host Burnaby in their final regular season game Sunday. Harbour Cats trounced Nanaimo 16-6 last night. They meet again tonight in Nanaimo. And Team Canada, winners over UCLA 69-55 at the Save-On Foods Centre last night. Checking the traffic situation, Saanich turning into ground zero right now. A couple of slow spots. Helmken Road, as you approach Interurban, is real busy as you get close to the stoplight. And then Mackenzie is busy in spots right from the Trans-Canada, right across plus Bank and Sup, and right to Shelburne in spots. There's some good spots and there's some bad spots right along Mackenzie at this hour. If you're on the Trans-Canada Highway, you're having a less congested ride than usual at this time. It's in pretty good shape all the way from Langford to Uptown. Well, the markets, TSX is down 318 points at 35,167. Dow Jones down 605 at 51,613. And the NASDAQ is down 691 points at 24,999. And the Canadian dollar is down 3 basis points at 71 cents U.S.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Oversleepers, catch all the highlights on the latest audio podcast at CFAX1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
We have another interesting stat coming in.
All right, we like numbers.
Okay. I never ask women their age.
Well, yeah, asking anyone their age is kind of rude unless you're looking at a child. I'm 5.5. That's fine. But no.
So this is south of the border coming out of Seattle.
Okay. So they're just across the pond is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Seattle. Wave out from here.
Looking good today.
The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics is finding more workers age 55 and older are stepping away from the workforce, especially women.
New labor data is showing fewer older women are working or actively looking for work compared to recent years. At the same time, labor force participation among Americans 65 and older has slipped from its 2019 peak as more baby boomers reach retirement age. Economists say the trend could make it harder for employers to fill jobs and replace experienced workers. I'm Monica Nelson.
I think that's a trend on this side of the border, too.
You think so?
Well, I think if people can step away from the job, they will. Or if you don't like your job, or if you're just kind of done in your job, there's a point where you decide whether you're going to retire. At 55 seems young to retire. And why specifically women? I don't know. They're working hard enough at home already?
Yeah, I think there's some burnout.
Could be. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Throwing in the towel?
Well, and I think it's looking for something different, too.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
That's been something that's happening since the pandemic because we realize how short life is. And so a lot of people started looking at life differently. But still, you've got to put food on the table. And the way inflation is, a lot of people have looked at their finances for retirement and went, maybe just not yet.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I always find it...
She's not saying why, though. I always want the why. Give me the stats, but why? Because they've surveyed these women.
Yeah, you need the theory.
Right, but the why wasn't in there. Give them 3 examples to why they're retiring, why they're stepping away from the job.
I think sometimes they don't know, and they leave it out because they don't know. And I think it's probably for a lot... You wouldn't get a one-size-fits-all answer either.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
No, of course not. Everyone has different reasons for when they're going to not work or what they're going to do. But, hopefully they're picking up a passion.
And I think your comment about the pandemic is very good as well. So I think it just... We realized that, after sitting, enclosed in a space for 2 years, that now that I'm out of the space, I want to do all the things that I want to do.
Well, I would say that's true for the younger generation, too. But when you look at if that involves, say, travel, something that used to be simple for us is bogged down with logistics now and a lot of finances that comes with it. Travel is not cheap anymore. And so, of course, I just had a stat on the amount of Canadians doing road trips. More and more road trips because even with the price of gas, it's cheaper and it's more solid than flying. So if you can drive there, you will. So that's sort of come around again. But I know that during the pandemic, we couldn't open enough courses for motorcycle training.
Really?
Because that is something that's on people's bucket list, as an example.
Right.
Everybody's got a different bucket list. They're going to want to learn to do something different. But a lot of people just said, that's it. I realized this has flipped, the world on its head sort of thing. And the pandemic made a lot of people realize that it's not, kind of now or never. And that has cooled a little bit. But at the time, it was fever pitch.
Yeah, it
right?
was.
So we all looked at it and went, okay, what's something I really want to do? Whether you actually pursued it or not, because life happens while we're making other plans. Thank you, John Lennon. Still, it's there on the list. Maybe on the back burner.
Interesting.
I don't know. Women retiring at 55? It'd be nice, but got to put food on the table.
Yeah, it's such a... You know, one of the things you do have value in is your home. But if you haven't got a home, it's almost like you have two, because the rent is so high, you know, it's that push and pull thing.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that piece of real estate that is kind of the nest egg, it makes you make other decisions.
Well, you base your decisions based on your finances usually.
Yep.
And if you don't have the finances, then there's your decision. You know, that's it's just reality.
It is. 8:46, here's Lisa with your news headlines.
Well, since we're talking about travel, WestJet, of course, facing turbulence shortly, 10 days from now, in fact. 4,400 flight attendants across Canada threatening to strike as soon as August 2nd. We'll keep you apprised of any changes there. But on the upside, 11,000 Air Canada technical operations, maintenance, and operational support group staff have ratified their new contract with the airline. Air Canada says its new collective agreements with all of its major unions following the expiration of the previous long-term contracts. That means 6 new collective agreements have been ratified with Air Canada just this year. Now, Air Canada Chief Executive Michael Rousseau says the airline is well positioned to advance its strategic plans. What that is, we will let you know when it becomes available. What has changed for that big concert planned in the Inner Harbour in early August is you won't see the performers of the Victoria Symphony Orchestra on stage. The David Foster Foundation has announced the orchestra will not accompany the David Foster and Friends of the Foundation's free 40th anniversary Victoria Harbour concert, which is slated for August 8th. A statement shares that David Foster remains dedicated to bringing the concert to Victoria to thank the community that has supported the foundation for more than 40 years. They say the audience can still look forward to a great evening featuring more than 10 internationally acclaimed artists. And that is your CFAX News to 8:47.
You've heard the chaos. Now you can see it. Oh my God. Watch all your favorite podcasts from start to finish right inside the free iHeartRadio app.
Gets the blood going, huh?
Catch every laugh and eye roll on shows like the Tom Green Farmcast and Park the Bus. Now with full video.
We're building a ramp for Tony Hawk.
It's the same hosts and the same chemistry with all the hilarious moments you've been missing right on your screen.
Cheers.
Open the free iHeartRadio app, search video podcasts, and tap watch.
$8:49 here at CFAX 1070, checking your traffic situation at the ferry terminal. The 9 o'clock sailing's already full. The 10 o'clock sailing has 18% available. The 11 o'clock has 10%. No delays at the airport. On the highways, getting a little busy now on the Trans-Canada from Island Highway past the hospital. Improves just before the curve, and everywhere else, traffic is moving slower in some spots, especially Pat Bay Highway around Elk Beaver Lake Regional Park.
Ryan and Lisa are ready when you are.
Good morning.
Day or night, find the highlights under latest audio at CFAX1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
Helping out CFAX Santa's Anonymous with their 50-50 jackpot and Kids Count, which is a new push to help kids 330, where are we at? 365 days a year. There we are.
Cycle.
Right? Megan Love joins us from the organization. Megan, good morning.
Good morning, Lisa. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
So we're currently, if I look at the 50-50 jackpot, we're well over $8,100. Pretty exciting.
That is correct. Yes, it's been a really great jump this week, actually. So it's really great to see the community coming together. Our goal is 50,000, though, so we still got quite a ways to go. We got about 35 days left before the deadline on August 27th. So
you're doing good.
A little bit more to push.
Yeah, 82.45 is where it stands right now. So if you know how 50-50s work, and most of us do, if we've ever been to any kind of sporting event in Canada.
Cycle.
He just loves saying the French of it. So basically, at this point, if you were to sign on, you would be taking well over $4,000 home to put in your own pocket, and $4,000 goes to the charity. So, of course, we want to go much higher than that because we need the money for our kids and our families. Megan, share where some of this money will be going, some of our lofty plans for this.
Yes, of course. So with the Kids Count program, we, of course, during the summer season, with kids being out of school, those support systems that were in school for their breakfast programs are no longer available. And that is where the food banks get extremely busy. So during the summer months, July and August, we support these food banks for Souk, Sydney, and Goldstream. Last year, from having very successful funding from our incredible donors, we were able to donate $10,000 to each food bank. But of course, with the food costs rising, as we can constantly see, we actually had to increase this year's pledge for $20,000. So it's $10,000 for July and $10,000 for August.
This is a trend. This is something that we're seeing that is new because in years past, we weren't giving to food banks the way we are now. And food insecurity seems to be front and center.
Absolutely, and it constantly is for us at Santa's. We constantly are getting, we need help with this. We actually just helped out Burnside Gorge for May and June for their program, just to help out with their food costs. And we helped 580 families. So that was in need of fresh food because when I go to the grocery store, it is really sad to see that a couple of apples is more expensive than a bag of chips. And so it really have to think about, what are we teaching our kids? And I can't imagine, a small family even going to the grocery store and trying to buy fresh produce, and they financially are struggling. And, with the growing costs, they just can't afford those fresh foods that need to nurture a child's development. And so it's really important in Santa's that we support these food banks so that these kids get the nutrition that they need.
I think you've nailed something that I see as a phenomenon that's starting to happen is with the inflation, some of the, lack of a better way to put it, lower end things like hot dogs, like craft dinner, they're going up fast at a faster pace than other things, and that's really squeezing people.
Yeah, Steve, that's a really great point that you make there too about just how the quality of even the food that isn't as nutritious is going up in price as well. So, how are these families able to survive the summer months when there's not any school programs in anymore? And so that's where Santa's really tries to fill that bridge of the food insecurities. And with Kids Count, that's what our main priority has been this summer.
The longer goal, the loftier goal too, is to teach children about food and the right foods to be eating for their bodies.
Yeah, and also too, Lisa, you make up a really good point about what we are teaching our kids in the community. And with Santa's, I really truly feel like the kids that are helped out now will come back and help out the community later on when they can. And isn't that the kind of community that we want to live in, where everyone's helping each other out?
And we know that to be true because we do see return families or young couples with families come back to say, I was a recipient and now I'm turning it around because I have the power to do so in my life, in part thanks to Santa's.
Yeah, and that really is where it comes full circle.
So let's talk about the website for a second. Kids Count alone, there's a number of categories you can donate to, and then we'll get into the 50-50.
Yeah, of course. So we have education, greater good, hunger, mental well-being, and sports and summer camps, which is another one that we support too with the Kids Count program through our children's grant program. And that's where we help out with the camp subsidies for kids in the community.
Helping them go to camp when they wouldn't otherwise.
That's exactly it. Instead of being in the house and not creating friends and building skills and all that important things that you learn at summer camp.
Yeah, because a lot of times when the parents are at work, the child just stays home. We know that to be true. Well, it's all parents can do is you're off for summer vacation, but I can't afford to send you anywhere. So, and the 50-50, how do we get involved with that?
Well, you can go to CFAXsantas.com. There's a link right on our homepage, and you can also go to CFAX1070.com, and there's also a link right there. You can buy the tickets. The tickets are, for a single ticket, it's $10. For a pack of 5, it's $25, and for a pack of 20, it's $50. So you actually save money when you buy more tickets. But, it only takes one ticket to win, though. And I do really want to stress that, I know it is financially hard right now for families, and the times are tough. So, if you cannot buy tickets, please share our posts. It really does help to spread the word about our 50-50.
8200 and change is where it's at right now. So going to a good cause, over $4,000 going into your pocket if you can help us out for CFAX Santas Anonymous. First time for this that we're trying this 50-50 jackpot on, but so far so good.
Absolutely. We're very happy so far, and we need to put the community together, and we really need to help out these kids, and we want to keep feeding the kids this summer.
Thank you, Megan. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.